Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to, I believe, episode 8 of Behind Enemy Lines Hockey Podcast. Today is game day, so as usual, we're going to do a game preview between Habs and the Predators. Like I said, it is the morning. Breakfast has just been choked down my throat, and we're doing this early and ready to go. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to do the game preview. And this topic, Steve, this is going to be a fun one. Today's topic of discussion is going to be what's wrong with the Leafs. So I'll just leave that at it as it is, and we'll stew on that till we get there. But as always, here's my partner, Steve, and he's going to take off with the trivia question.
Well, good morning, and again, it is morning, and normally I'm not this coherent before a second cup of coffee. So if I'm a little bit jumbled this morning, you'll know why. But that's why we have a production crew, or
Yeah,
Sheldon,
yeah,
um, and he can help get me through
yeah,
this morning's
yeah,
episode. So
yeah.
yes, we're game day. Um, uh, the Nashville Predators are in town, and we'll go easy on the trivia today. We're 8 episodes in, and I know we've had some tough ones. And if you're a diehard, you might have got most of them, or at least had a best guess. So let's talk about the two franchises. Believe it or not, 39 players have played for Montreal and Nashville. Nashville's not been around that long.
Mm.
Two goaltenders, so that's 37 skaters. The topic today is an easy one. What player who suited up for both franchises is the only player in the 1,000 game club?
Even I knew the answer to this one, but
Did
we'll see
did,
who else
did
knows.
you Google? Did I put that note in the email before I had my coffee? But yeah,
Yeah.
what player has played for both franchises and is the only one in the 39 that has amassed 1,000 career games?
1,000 career games. Yeah. Okay. Great question. And let's start with right into the preview. Um, so tonight's game, like I said, it's early here. We're still got one eye, open, pillow on the other half of the head. Um, Rosters, I don't believe are out yet, haven't been shown. So we're going to kind of speculate on what we think the lineups and things will be. So take her away. What do you think's happening tonight?
I think this is where we see a couple of roster moves. My guess is if I let's start in the back end because that's one of two guys. Sammy has played. He played last game, a couple nights ago against Seattle. Was good. I won't say he was great. He didn't have to be great. He was good when we needed him to be good. If you look at the schedule ahead, we play tonight against Nashville, and then we're home on Saturday night. So I'm going to speculate that just to keep things fresh, Dobish will play tonight against the Preds. That way, Monty comes back and gets the first Saturday night game. The old Sudbury Saturday night hockey game. Everybody's dialed in a little bit different on a Saturday night. Nobody has to get up and go to work the next morning. So I'm gonna guess that if you're gonna give Dobish one game at home, you'd probably want to do it now and not Saturday night. And then unfortunately, I see the sheriff coming out unless we don't have those notes from the last game, unless somebody's got a small nagging injury. I'm gonna say that the sheriff is out for Struble. Again, not saying that the sheriff has played bad. Arbor has been good in the minutes he's been given, and at some point when you got to make room, somebody falls by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
So he would be my guess, and Joe Veleno sees his first action as well. You can't carry these guys before they become the unwanted dark horses that are the malcontents in the dressing room. You can't expect a guy to sit there forever with a smile on his face waiting to play. They're professional hockey players. They want to play. So I'm going to say Veleno draws in the lineup, and you're not going to sit Josh Anderson. I don't think you're going to sit Jake Evans. If you're just looking at one guy off the fourth line, would Marty take Kapanen out of the lineup to put Veleno in? That's an option. Would he take Doc out of the lineup to give him an extra day's rest and a therapy day? Probably would help him play later into the season without an injury. That would be an option, but my guess is, Patrick Laine finds himself as the odd duck out. Again, he's used to been playing in higher situations in the lineup. So, just to mix it up, maybe it sends him a message, that he's got to do a little bit more. Not that he's been terrible,
Mhm.
because he hasn't, but at some point to get guys in just to keep fresh legs, someone has to sit.
Yes. I kind of agree with you on most of what you said. I do have a few different things. I do agree that uh, Dobesh plays tonight. But like I said, he needs to get his games. And like you say, Saturday night, bigger game. It's against the Rangers. I think they want Monty in that spotlight and not Dobesh. I think, and I think you're better off not. I don't know, sheltering him is the word. I mean, he's got a far better, like right now, Dobesh has a one goals against average, 968 save percentage. I mean, it's only one game. Monty's got a 2.98 goals against average, 870 save percentage. I mean, I'd like to see that a better number on the save percentage, obviously. Um, but I just see them putting Dobesh in a less meaningful game tonight and Monty in, the Rangers are in town Saturday night, and that's going to be, one of the big shows. And for that same reason, I agree with you that Jack Eye comes out tonight. Struble gets his game, and Jack Eye's back in Saturday night when Rempe's in town. I think that's a big thing there. As far as the Veleno getting in, I don't want to say I'm indifferent. I don't know, whether he gets in or not. But I would say if he's in, who they replace him with, I don't know. I think they should sit Doc and put him in Doc's spot. Again, I don't see Doc playing 80 games. I've said it before, and I don't want to, beat a dead horse, you know, with the topic. But this is the opportunity they can to get Doc rest he needs. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I agree. And we talked about micromanaging minutes for a lot of people. When we're blowing a team out, Suzuki and Caulfield don't play the last 6 minutes of a hockey game. They get the odd shift because why put them out there to get hurt or to turn an ankle or block a shot when you don't need to? Doc kind of falls on that same thing. He's a delicate princess.
Mhm.
He's got a lot of injuries. And I know a lot of Hab fans coming into the season were like, we need a number two centerman. Management says we don't need a number two centerman. We could say now we got two number twos or a 2A and a 2B between Doc and Kapanen. But if we protect him and give him the odd game off, is he bigger, healthier, stronger getting into March and April when we need him to be on a tear and letting it up come the playoffs? That might be one of the ways to do it.
Mhm.
Don't know that they're going to go down that road, but time will tell. Obviously, you don't want anybody to get hurt, and at some point in the season, that's going to happen. And then it's a no-brainer as to who's sitting because the
Yeah.
injured guy will.
Yeah.
But right now, we're not at that boat, so. I just see you got to get guys in, whether it's one game or two games. I just think it's inevitable.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, let's go right into predictions. Let's see who's going to win. Who do you got scoring? Things like that.
Well, Nashville's coming into town after a very disappointing result against Toronto. They lost 7-4. You give up 7 goals. Yes, two of them were empty netters, much like the two we gave up to the Leafs. They got another two freaking freebies.
Mhm.
You know, surprise, surprise. So we actually get Nashville coming in after a game in Toronto. Usually it's the other way around. I think the last couple of years we've been getting teams into Montreal, then they go into Toronto.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm gonna say this is a 4-2 win, maybe even a 5-2 win. I think Nashville is a Jekyll and Hyde type of team,
Mhm.
like Seattle was. They're either really good or they're really bad. Last year they were really bad. They seem to be off to a better start. You can't count out the likes of a Jonathan Marchessault and Steven Stamkos and Philip Forsberg. There's some talent up front still, so there's still guys that can score. So we can't take any game lightly. I'd love to predict the next 80 podcasts that we're 81-1 by the time the season's over.
Mhm.
But the harsh reality is we're going to get some of these wrong. Um, I'm hoping that this isn't one of them.
Yeah. So I
So
would agree.
when you ask about personal statistics, I said last time we both agreed last time that Davidoff was going to get on the score sheet, and he did. I predicted Suzuki was going to as well. He did not. I'm going to guess Thursday night he has to get on the score sheet. He's all over it. He's
Mhm,
got lots of assists. I think he's got six or seven.
mhm.
So he's all over the score sheet. I think now he gets to be front and center on it.
Yeah, yeah, and I would agree. I think for a few different reasons, and like you talked about, the Predators roster, they do have a lot of guys that got talent that can play the game for sure. Are they on the downside years of their career? Yeah, maybe. But I just think Predators, the disaster that they were last year, well, they can't be any worse. Realistically, I don't think, unless you're the Buffalo Sabres, but that's another story. But the
Or they
Predators,
couldn't make me laughs.
yeah, I don't think the Predators can do any worse than they did last year, but I just don't see them being that much better either. They're 2-1-1 this year so far, and like you say, they lost to the Leafs last night or the night before. So on that note, I expect a Montreal win, but I expect it to be a 2-1, 3-2 kind of score. I expect Damodoff to, just keep doing what he's doing, keep playing, keep excelling and doing his thing. And I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna say Suzuki scores his first one tonight. And on this one, I hope we're both right. He needs it. Um, and I just think that a nice little winning streak would help us out now. Early win streaks now help us out later in the year.
Yes, and I'm gonna give you one more name that hopefully gets his first goal, and that'll be Noah Dobson.
Mhm.
I have a soft spot for the new guys because no better way to break in and feel like you're part of the team than to score a goal. So I know when he was on the Islanders, he got a lot more power play one time. He seems to be getting mop up 30 seconds with the power play two unit here. But I think he's due. I think he's due for a goal. He's been getting a few nice passes back, and he's had a few nice shots. He just hasn't managed to find the twine. But
Mhm.
I'm going to say Suzuki and Dobson are in on this one.
Yeah. And on that note, uh, as far as expectations go, I expect, like you said, we both expect that Struble will be in, and because of that, um, I think he plays a strong, heavy game. And if you know what I mean by heavy, I think he's going to be, doing pounding the body. He's going to be tough in the corners. He's going to make it miserable for the guys in front of the net. And and I think he's doing that because he wants to prove to the management and to the coach that, hey, put me in and leave me in, and he's going to want to earn that spot. So,
He's got to do something that says I don't want to come out.
mhm,
So I agree. If he gets in, I look for him to lay more of the body. Something that Arbor does well, but Arbor sort of shied away from as he's polished his game.
mhm,
Early in his career, Arbor was coming out and everybody wanted to fight this kid that came out of nowhere and was working at Costco and now
yeah,
beating people up for a living.
yeah,
That the novelty of that is wore off because we know he's a tough customer.
mhm,
He doesn't turn down a fight.
mhm,
People are turning down Arbor Jack, I know.
yeah, yeah. They
Before they
know
were
better.
coming in, they
Yeah,
they, they were coming in saying, we're going to do this. And
yeah,
now they're like, well, not today.
yeah.
So a different level of respect. But I think for Jaden Struble, he's got to be heavy on the people around him because that's what's going to keep him in the lineup. You want Marty St. Louis and the management staff to say, maybe we should rest Matheson tonight. Let's
Mhm,
keep these two guys in, or maybe we give Carrier a night off and let him heal a bit because no guy needs to play 80 games, so let's just give the odd
mhm.
break where we can because we're not in any pressure. So I look for I hope a good effort, but I hope he doesn't try to go head hunting or try to do more than he's
Yeah,
within
you
his
don't want him
skill
doing too
range and
much.
and then he's the
It's the
unfortunate.
goat for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go from hero to zero all in two shifts.
Hmm. Yeah. So on that note, I think we got a pretty good idea of what we expect. I mean, obviously rosters or lineups, sorry, haven't been announced yet. So,
Yeah,
A
stay
lot of
tuned to
this
your
could be
Twitter.
just speculation and we look like idiots, but
Yeah,
hey, if it
stay
turns out
tuned.
right, we look like geniuses.
Yeah, yeah. Crystal balls and everything
Yeah,
else will come
yeah,
when the podcast budget goes up. But
yeah,
yeah, just stay tuned to X or Twitter, and there's some good beat reporters for the Montreal Canadiens that they're at morning skates, and I'm sure in an hour or half hour as we get off, I'm sure the speculation will be there and it'll be confirmed.
Okay, so on to today's topic. Probably one of the most anticipated ones that I've had, and I'm sure you're pretty excited about too, is what's wrong with the Leafs? I mean, you can't have a Montreal Behind Enemy Lines podcast without digging it to the Leafs. So you
Well,
start her off.
what's wrong with the Leafs? Well, first of all, they're in Toronto. I can't say any more than that. The one thing that you can associate the city of Toronto and the word lose both have O's in it. Like there's similarities here. You know, it's a franchise that you hear every year. There's next year's our year. This year's our year. At some point, this franchise is really the Buffalo Sabres with marginal success.
Hmm.
And that's not something you should strive to be. The Buffalo Sabres 2.0 upgrade.
Hmm.
That's like going from Windows to Windows 7. Like that's not anything to write home about. But this is what the Toronto faithful are. So
Hmm.
what's going wrong?
Hmm.
Well,
Well, I know a few things like you. I just want to cut in real quick about the Buffalo comparison, and I think that might be of all the jabs, all the digs I've ever heard about the Leafs, I think that might have summed it up the best. Buffalo sucks. They suck. They know it, and their fans don't buy tickets. Toronto sucks. Their fans don't know it, and they keep shelling out this ridiculous number for the prices of the tickets.
every year, and it
Yeah,
only goes up more.
yeah.
I mean, as far as a dumpster fire front office, my brother used to, him and three guys used to be season ticket holders. And, Toronto is a team that would qualify for the playoffs. The second they have locked down the playoff, they had to spend the money to get 16 playoff tickets.
Hmm.
Well, you are automatically assuming as a front office that you're going to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
Like, I know you got to get money, but not do it two rounds at a time because when was the last time they've gone more than two rounds?
Hmm.
So why are you asking all these people for money and why are all these sheep just keep giving it?
Yeah.
But again, they just can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
It's when you look at it, nobody wants to admit failure.
Hmm.
But it's easy to do if you're looking at the Leafs from an outside point of view.
Hmm.
They've had some good hockey general managers and some terrible coaches. They've had some good coaches and terrible NHL general managers. At some point, you got to think you got to hitch the right horse to the right buggy here and team up and do something productive. But as a Montreal fan, I love to see the failure. Like
Hmm.
I told you before, I cheer for two teams, Montreal Canadiens and anyone playing Toronto. You
Yeah.
know, I actually when they're playing Montreal, I cheer for a bus crash when they leave the airport.
Hmm.
Like it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of guys.
Hmm.
Whether that's Austin Matthews and that exceptionally large forehead walking into the rink and deflecting the lights at the Bell Center into Willie's eyes. Something's going wrong with these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Willie's Timu suits that are purple and yellow and bronze and whatever else. Again, guys, focus on playing hockey. But the fact that they don't, it helps us.
Yeah. And I think the blind loyalty is what impresses me because and I talked to as same as you. I talked to many Leafs fans who, they come, oh, you guys are living in the past. Hey, well, you know what? We've got that many cups to live in the past. We have a past to live in. You don't even have a present to live in. You're so blinded by your loyalty that they always say they got the best player, they got the best goalie, they got the best this, they got the best that, and they just can't understand that for years, for the last 5 or 6 years or however long it is, they've had, I think it was like 60% of their salary cap tied up into four players, into that core four. And they were, oh, this is it, this is it, this is it. And I used to tell them, as long as you keep blindly believing that that's how you're going to win, keep at it. Because there's nothing more that I like to see that heartbreak after round one. And the odd time after round two, when they all say, "Oh, F this team, I can't believe it," whatever. But they just keep on, you know what I mean? They keep on pumping the money and they keep on doing whatever. And uh, the game, the home opener this year, Toronto Montreal, I ran into some pretty good friends down there, and we won, we won. And I said, "Well, yeah, you should have won." Well, what does that mean? You guys are the big team. You're supposed to win. You know what I mean? So for Leafs fans to say to me for the last 10 years, haha, we beat you. Yeah, you're supposed to. You guys were the big team, the big contracts, the big players. Montreal was in rebuild. It's embarrassing if you don't win. That's like me getting into a boxing ring with a 90-year-old guy. I better win. If not, that's embarrassing.
Should I give you lessons then?
Yeah.
Hang on one second. Yeah, done. Breaking news. Leaf fans. Connor McDavid signed in Edmonton. He's not coming.
Oh, man.
I know it's shocking
Yeah.
because they honestly believe that guy was coming too. You
Yeah.
shipped off Mitch Marner and you were going to bring in a guy that makes even more money.
Yeah.
When do the proverbial light bulbs go off for these people?
Yeah. And that's the problem. Because I know as a Leafs fan, I already bought my Connor McDavid jersey, Leafs jersey. I already bought it.
I bought three because I have to have the blue, the white, and the black Tim Hortons ones. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I know. I'll probably have to go on Kijiji and sell them to some other sucker that'll pay double the price.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody
Who
that don't.
still believes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think, I'm just amazed at how misguided, blind loyalty, misguided sheep, whatever. Like it just doesn't seem, at what point do you give up? I mean, maybe their blind loyalty can be commended at in some way. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I will give them credit because every year they choke, you see 100 jerseys on the ice. So at the start of next year, as the front office and the marketing staff, you just sold 100 more jerseys.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're onto something.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a great marketing ploy.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Yeah.
They're they fall into that same category. Like they're the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. We are hockey's team. The only way those Maple Leaf players see a Stanley Cup is if they go across the street to the Hockey Hall of Fame and buy a ticket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the harsh reality is they just can't get over the hump. So why though? So let's dig into this. You touch base on the four players prior to this year, each getting their $12 million or whatever that number was, and they were up to 16 million or 48 million, sorry, and salary caps rising. Then they get Morgan Riley. He's on his $8 million. They spend a lot of money on
Mm-hmm.
players. And you look at what we've done, eight guys at 8 million, we're way further ahead. And that helps us.
Mm-hmm.
We are starting to get the loyalty. Those guys are all greedy. For the first time, when Tavares resigned, he resigned for less money, but he wasn't getting it. He would have got more money elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe another team would have said, "Hey, we'll give you 8 or 9 million. Come play for us for 3 years." I
Mm-hmm.
believe he would have got that money elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
just don't think he wanted to go anywhere else.
yeah, he didn't want to go anywhere. So do they benefit? But
Mm-hmm.
we draft Nick Robertson. Oh yeah, you put up 50 goals in Peterborough, and they don't even dress the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. I'm gonna just reach out there and say it was tampering. They screwed us over. They stole Mike Pizzetta from underneath our nose in the summer. Like, how dare they do that?
Yeah.
And sign that guy to his $1 million and just say, sorry, you're gonna go on waivers and take your skates off and
Yeah.
like every other Maple Leaf fan, when you win the Stanley Cup, turn off the Xbox and go home for the night.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like this is it's a material that writes itself. I mean,
Yeah.
the last time the Leafs won a Stanley Cup, it was black and white TVs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They haven't seen a Stanley Cup parade in color unless they watch somebody else's.
Yeah. And you mentioned something about the core four and it made me think about and their contracts. It made me think about when you mentioned about Montreal. I think I think Montreal, the management team, and not just Montreal, I think 31 other franchises in the NHL learned you cannot give four players that much money and have nothing to support it, right? Because for years they've had atrocious defense, atrocious goalies, and they couldn't fix the problem because they had no money to put in it. This year, for example, they're at 95 million on their cap. They've got, get this, right now, Toronto has $22,000 in cap space. Not 2.2 million, not 200,000. They've got $22,000 in cap space. So
So they so they
when
can buy
things go
Burger
later,
King. They can buy Burger King when they're out in Vegas as a team meal and just be under the cap.
yeah, exactly. So it's not like how are they going to fix this? If the time comes at trade deadline where they need to fix, most of them trade deadline fixes involve taking on salary because you're trying to improve your team. I mean, I know a lot of times there's retention, there's salaries going the other way, but who are you sending the other way and who are you bringing in and how are you going to manage that with $22,000 in cap space?
Well, the only way you solve that is by a guy getting hurt, or an Austin Matthews or a Willie Nylander or one of the $8 million+ a year contracts misses a week or 2 weeks, and then you build up because you're replacing with a guy from the minors
Yeah.
that doesn't make 8 million. So you get a little bit of cap relief that way. If you end up having to put a guy on LTIR, and I don't wish any negativity. I often say, I hope this doesn't happen and it happens to that guy. And I'm sorry if this is going to happen, but we'll pick on Morgan Riley. Let's say Morgan Riley gets hurt. He's an $8 million guy. If he's only out 2 weeks, you're not putting him on LTIR because you need him back. If he's going to be out a month, you might save a couple 100,000 over a 1 month, but they've got to make a deal.
Yeah.
They've got to make a deal. I don't know. Do you turn out Jake McCabe and send him somewhere and try and get another Norris Trophy candidate in Simon Benoit?
Yeah.
Like,
But
come
that's
on,
my
guys.
point though. You need to make a deal, but in order to get a player that's going to be of any value to you, and let's say that number's an $8 million player, you're not even close to that number. Who do you send out?
The
Because
funny
there's nobody in that range to send out to get you in that range and to get you cap compliant.
Well, at the beginning of camp, or all the way through training camp, two names came up, right? Well, three: Nick Robertson, David Kampf, and Kelly Youngcroc. That's who they thought that. Now they Youngkroc's in the lineup. That sucker's got 3 goals.
I
He's
was going to say, I
making
was just checking because he's leading the team in goals.
well. He's tied with Mr. Matthews.
Yeah, but I
Um,
don't count his
he's,
two empty netters, though.
he's got two freebies, right?
Yeah,
The other guys at least had to earn them.
yeah.
Um, this guy's either making himself very tradable to somebody else, or the Leafs are saying, we're having a hard time scoring goals. We better keep this guy.
Mhm.
So they don't have themselves any wiggle room, because what they should do and what they could do and what they do are three, and they are do. That's three different things,
Yeah.
So you're in a precarious situation. You've got Joseph Wall on LTIR, and you bring in the second best pylon since Dion Phaneuf has been there, and you got Caden Primo in net.
Mhm.
On two of those goals against Nashville, I don't think he moved.
Yeah.
I don't know if he realizes that. I mean, he was with us at one point and fought the puck.
Mhm.
Yet Toronto thinks that that's the savior.
Well,
I,
here's my take on that is for years when Primo was with Montreal, I know he was young, he had his good moments and he had his bad moments, but every Toronto fan I ever heard trashed him, right?
yeah,
Well, now they sign him and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's good this, he's that." Well, like 300 days ago you thought he was a piece of shit and now he's good because he's wearing a Leafs jersey? Come on.
and that's the sheeple.
Yeah.
The sheeple believe, right? The second he puts on a blue and white toilet paper on top of his equipment,
Mhm.
now he's a hockey player.
Mhm.
If that's the case, call me Sally and sign me up. I'll go play.
Mhm.
If that's what it takes to be a hockey player in the NHL, I can wear the jersey to collect some money.
Maybe they should sign the Zamboni guy that beat them as their backup goalie.
Well, he's too good for that.
Too much
He's
self-respect.
he's got standards now. He knows what it's like to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah,
and be
yeah,
celebrated. Maybe we should try and get Mr. Ayers on. If you're out there, Dave, and happen to listen to this, come
yeah,
join and tell us how fun that was to beat
yeah.
the hometown team.
We'll buy you Burger King.
I'll hand
Um,
deliver.
like honestly, and a little more serious note, I think their problems can come down to, I've never been sold on their defense. I just don't, I just don't think they've got very good defense at all. Maybe I'm way wrong. I don't know. Their goaltending, I mean, Joseph Wall, I think is their guy. He's out till October 27th. He's out till Scott Lawton's out till the 15th. So I mean, they got some I would say key injuries, but they're still not like Matthews. You know, it says he's got 3 goals, but really we know he's only got one. He's invisible this year. And I think this is going to be a recurring problem because, like I've said, they traded away or got rid of the wrong guy when they got rid of Marner. I mean,
I
you look at Matthews' success with Marner, he's going to have a lot less without him. I think he's going to
well,
struggle for 30.
and I've talked to a handful of Leaf fans. And when you trade a guy away that's let's sort of take a quick second. Did they trade him? Did they get good value for him? They got what they could. Could they have not done anything and let Vegas just sign him for free? Absolutely. And then they could have used that full 11 million their way. There was talk that, this was a tampering thing, and the only reason Vegas offered up Nicholas Waugh was so that Toronto didn't proceed with tampering. At the end of the day, 100 points left, and it didn't come back.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, but it's hard to replace that guy and his impact when he's a 100-point player.
Yeah.
If we lost Nick Suzuki, we'd struggle to
Oh,
find that same impact.
that'd be hurt.
So you can't do that at any level. It doesn't matter what jersey you wear.
Mhm.
We're picking on Toronto because, they're the enemy. And maybe we'll pick on Detroit in another episode because they're a different enemy and pick on Dylan Larkin or somebody because he's pretty much invisible except for one shift a game.
Yeah.
But you can't give up that amount of points and the camaraderie and the chemistry that Marner and Nylanders had, or Marner and Matthews had, and it was undeniable how well they meshed and how well they played together. And maybe they should have traded Nylander.
Mhm.
If Matthews is your guy, maybe you should have kept Marner, or
Yeah.
maybe you should have let Tavares go outright. Like
I think
this,
Matthews is the guy they need to trade.
I said that 3 years ago. He
Yeah.
is not a captain. He is not captain material.
Mhm.
You've made him the captain. Now you're stuck with him.
Yeah.
And they are just not trending in the right direction. I mean, there was a lot of Canadian broadcasters, pundits, betting line odds makers that had Team USA to win the Four Nations Cup. They're led by Austin Matthews, who scores 70 goals. Um, how'd that work out for him? How
Mhm.
much of a leader is that? You
Yeah.
know, the leader has got to put the team on his back.
Yeah.
That guy, I'm sorry,
He's not
he's
that
got
guy. Yeah.
he's got the be- I will say this, to Leaf fans, he's got the best NHL shot, I believe. He's got the
Mhm.
quickest release. He can score goals, but he needs someone to get him the damn puck because he can't do it himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is not like the guy in Edmonton that wears 97 that skates 312 miles an hour
Yeah.
and breaks the speed of sound going up and down the ice by himself.
Yeah.
That guy's not doing it.
Yeah.
I said they should have traded him when the team was still the Arizona Coyotes. Trade him back. You probably could have got Clayton Keller and Lawson Krause and a couple other players and a couple of picks and really made off like bandits. And maybe there'd still be a team in Arizona at that point
Yeah.
if they would have got Matthews, a hometown kid. But Toronto could have made off like $1 million, and then they would have saved another 4 million and still been able to sign another guy on top of that.
Yeah. I know when I've had the discussions with the Leafs fans and I explained to them my theory of trading Matthews, their first reaction is, no way, man. He scores 50, 60 goals. I said, okay, but let's just take a step back and let's step outside of your blue and white tinted glasses for a second. Matthews is not the guy. And if you go on, HockeyDB, Puckpedia, any of these sites that have player stats, they all list the player stats from usually from Pee Wee on. And at the end of their stats at the year, you see a little icon with the trophy on it. where, for instance, they won their Pee Wee championship. They won in the OHL, or they won in the American Hockey League, or they won Stanley Cups. Austin Matthews has never won anything, never won any team championship in his whole playing career. From Pee Wee on up, has never won a thing. And that's the guy you pick as your leader, right?
Yeah.
I get, well, that's not everything, but that's a pretty big part of it. If you can't win at any level, that tells me more about the player than I need to know, or than
mean,
everybody
you,
should know.
you look at our captain who went to management last year when the team was struggling and is close to the trade deadline, and he, as the rumors say, he marched into the office and said, "Don't trade anybody,"
Mhm,
and management said, we're not in a good position right now, and he says, "Don't trade anybody, and we'll make the playoffs." Was he that bold? I'm going to guess he was, or management would have made deals,
mhm.
because that's management's job.
Yeah,
But we made the playoffs. Okay,
yeah,
we didn't last long, but we made the playoffs.
yeah,
Showed faith in a captain who's willing to put the team on his back. And down the stretch, Nick Suzuki was an all-world player.
yeah.
Um,
And the player
Matthews,
saw it too.
yeah, and Matthews can score 70 goals. He has the ability if somebody else passes him the puck.
Yeah,
You know, he goes into a corner with a dozen eggs in his pocket. He comes out with 13 of them and they're not broken. You
yeah.
know, like he just isn't going to be that guy. And I've said it time and time again. You've said it time and time again. It's a hard lesson for Maple Leaf fans. And when the sheeple finally get together and listen to somebody else and a different voice, and you realize, hey, we're 2 more years into this, he still hasn't won. We should trade him. He ain't worth shit at that point
Yeah. Well,
because
that's
everything has a shelf life. Even a
yeah,
can of carnation milk at 7-Eleven has a shelf life.
yeah,
He's getting to be the same thing.
yeah, and that's my point with my discussions with the Leafs fans when I tell them you need to trade away Matthews, obviously their first round great. But when I break it down for them and mention to them about that he's never won anything, and one trade can fix the Leafs. And I tell this, and they're usually believers with me because what would you get back for Matthews? You would definitely get a couple roster players and not Michael Pezzettas either. You're going to get some pretty solid top six players. You could get a solid defenseman. You could solve your goaltending issue, and you could probably restock some of your picks or slash prospects with one trade. So that would solve a couple things. That would give you more serviceable, more usable players. It would help with your future for prospects and draft picks. It would take a big chunk out of your salary cap issue, which they're been right up against it. And they could bring in some winning players. And when I mention that to players, the majority of the Leafs fans, and I said, you better do it now before the rest of the league catches on that he's useless as tits on a bull. Um, because when I'm done, they go, well, damn it, Sheldon, you're right. Now I'm convinced that they need to trade away Matthews. That's why I say they should have got rid of Matthews and kept Marner. Because to me, Matthews is the problem, not Marner. And definitely not Willie. I love Willie. I mean, I think he's a great player. I mean, he does have his weaknesses, but his positives far outweigh his negatives.
Oh, I agree, and I mean he's been their one shining light in the playoffs. Willie has been there. And this is a shout out to James Hurlburt. I know Willie's your favorite player.
Mhm.
I'm sure Santa Claus is going to bring you a nice blue jersey with Nylander on the back, so look forward to that. But you've got to you strike while the iron's hot. You got to get something when you give something up,
Mhm.
and teams would be willing to say Matthews has still got at least the length of this contract, whether it's 3, 4, 5 years left, he's still worth that money because marketing alone in a new city is going to be worth that money. And we put him with this player, and there's a GM somewhere that's going to be hoodwinked into thinking that's your guy.
Mhm.
And maybe there's an Adam Oates or another Mitch Marner sitting there, and he then becomes the guy, but he is not the guy in Toronto without some more help. The
Exactly.
the the place where they get the most out of him is by freeing up salary cap and term where they can use that money differently.
Spend it more wisely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And get more assets that are making them six, not just six two good lines, six actual players deep.
Mhm.
I take nothing away from the Nick Robertsons and the Matthew Nyes that play, but what does Matthew Nyes look like this year without Marner to go on that line so they're a threesome?
Mhm.
He's not the guy that's got the swift of hands, and he's not the fastest skater. I love Nyes as a player. he was dynamic on that line. But now that that third player is there, they're struggling to get an identity. They brought in Machias Michelli from
Mhm.
Utah, which again, Phoenix Coyote player or Arizona Coyote player. Um, and he just hasn't materialized or he'd be on that top line.
Yeah.
So, they lost back-to-back games against the Red Wings. And by the way, we whooped them 5-1. But we won't yell that out on Young Street.
Mhm.
Maybe we will.
Yeah.
But they've got to do something,
Yeah.
because you can't toe the line every year. Maybe they can. They're going on 57 years of
Mhm.
saying, next year's our year.
Yeah.
Next year is 57 years ago.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I mean, I love it. I love to see them lose. When Montreal plays Toronto, when the Leafs win, my phone rings 100 times.
Mhm.
I answer every call. I don't care. I'll call people back because I'll take it on the chin.
Mhm.
But rest assured, when Montreal wins, I make one phone call and nobody answers the phone.
Crickets.
Yes, they will let that sucker go to voicemail, and I'll
Yeah.
just say, "Hey, call me back,"
Yeah.
and they know, and I don't get a phone call back for about 3 days.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, I just want to bring up a couple stats here that I looked up for the Leafs. Um, they're actually third in the NHL in goals for at 4.25, which is okay. Um, I guess if you count the empty netters, that's kind of a a misleading stat too. But goals against, they're 25th at 3.75, which is atrocious defense, which I've been on all the time. Their penalty kill is only at 83%, which is 14th, but their power play 0%. They are dead last in the NHL in the power play. I mean, if that does not sum up everything that's wrong, nothing will. Any final
And
thoughts?
2 years ago, you would cry if they got a power play because they were clipping along at greater than 30%.
Mhm.
It was almost a guarantee the puck. They are going to have to be like the NFL, and when the referee arm goes up, Berube's going to have to we decline because
Yeah.
why give the other team that extra 2 minutes to fire the puck down the ice?
Yeah.
Like you got to do something. Sorry, not this time. We'll just stand at the status quo.
Yeah. And I just think Mitch Marner solves all them problems for them.
He
That's what I
he
believe.
solves he solves 90% of the problems,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not, I mean, I'm a Mitch Marner fan from the sake that he's a talented hockey player. But I think he made Matthews better than Matthews made him better. That's just
100%.
that's just my hot take. And I wish Marner nothing but success in Vegas just to stick it to them.
Hmm.
If we don't
Yeah.
win the cup, I'd like to see Vegas win it just to stick, and he brings that Stanley Cup down. I
Yeah.
will go sit and have my
Yeah.
poutine on Young Street to watch that parade.
Yeah. Well, I happen to know his cousin, and that's a
Well, there
call
you
I
go.
will make. That's a call I will make.
I will go online to DH Gate and my other Chinese connection and get a Marner Vegas jersey and wear that downtown
Yeah.
Toronto if they win the cup.
Okay. Excellent discussion as always. So let's head right into our trivia answer.
So this was an easy one. So he played a lot of years in Nashville before he came to Montreal, captain in both places. One obvious answer, and that's Shea Weber.
Excellent. Yeah. Alrighty, so that'll conclude another episode of Behind Enemy Lines. Thanks for joining us today as we have our little friendly Leaf trash banter. Let's hope for a great game tonight and hope for a win as we predicted. And see you next time. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, shoot us some pictures. Let us know what you think.
Give
And
us some feedback. I mean, this is for the casual Montreal fan because we're
mhm,
casual guys. We don't have degrees. We just want to be hockey people talking hockey. You have any thoughts, comments, want to make this better, anything you'd like to add, anything you don't like, let us know. I mean, we can take everything with a grain of salt. I usually like salt on my French fries, but I'll take it in criticism this time. And we just look forward to growing this a little bit more, and we can't do that without you guys. So please, please, please like, comment, share, pass this along, send a link to somebody's cell phone, whatever it takes to try and get a couple more people on board. We look forward to it.
all right, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night.
And like always, keep your stick on the ice.